Hey everybody, welcome to PowerShell Live. We're talking VS Code this time. You seem nervous.
No,
Yeah. So,
I love looking stupid in front of everyone. It's my favorite.
I'm saying your attitude on this has been wrong, but I'm excited about this one because we have three different outlooks. You are brand new to it, so you followed a blog written by Brock here at BDQ to build out your initial, and then you went way deep into testing things before you were probably ready. But everyone that might be new to VS Code or just picking it up, you have a lot of gotchas that you worked through now, which probably Andrew and I haven't thought of. And then there's me, which I don't do customization. I believe for me, I have the PowerShell extension, and that is it. I have not changed anything else. And then
That sounds like you.
Andrew, he's in the TV somewhere, I assume.
Andrew, where are you?
I'm hiding in the TV somewhere.
Okay.
There we go. Andrew, who has done quite a bit of customization. He likes it. In fact, the only time Andrew's been angry at me was when he remoted into my computer and saw that everything was default.
Yeah, that seems about right. Yeah.
He complained about that for months, and now he hasn't forgotten, but he's willing to let it go because I haven't added anything. I like defaults.
Okay, two things. I want to see Angry Andrew, first of all.
Okay.
Can I?
Keep it up and you'll get there. Yeah. If you don't do well today, if you don't love VS Code by the end of this, I'm angry.
Proclaim your love for defaults and you'll see it.
That's not me. We already know that's not me. I dive right in.
Like I said, so I think we're going to have you run first because you have a lot of what you discovered for your first time entering VS Code.
Okay, first though, I just want to say next week we'll be doing a live fitness class and you two will be teaching, okay?
Okay.
How does that sound?
You'll be surprised at how in shape I am.
Because that's what today's like, by the way. Imagine teaching something with two masters and you're an idiot, okay? I just want to put that in perspective for the two of you.
You ready? Overstate my skill.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, 3 days ago, I didn't even know what VS Code was. So
you are literally brand new.
Oh, brand new.
Which is fantastic.
So I'm going to describe it in a dumbed down way, which it seems like a nice little workspace for developers. Yes?
Pretty much, yeah. Whatever your language of choice
Editor on
is.
steroids.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Text editor on steroids. That's what Andrew said. Okay. So I used Brock's blog. I downloaded VS Code. And then I immediately did what I do, and I went about customizing it. So should we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what Jordan works with, this black nothingness.
Real quick.
You don't need it.
I want people to think I have nothing there.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
PowerShell preview extension.
You have one extension.
Okay. Let's see what else you can add.
Well, I can't do anything in this because I don't even know what this means.
Okay.
So Brock's blog first said to come here and add these extensions. So the first thing I did, obviously, because I need all the pretty colors, was to add this synthwave. So let's install this. Because I'm nothing without 80s theme, so I did that first. And then, because I don't know, if you're like me, I need to get familiarized with the environment and just kind of feel comfortable. And then this error lens was supposed to be checking to see if you were making errors. So I'm like, well, I obviously need that because I don't know what the crap I'm doing. So yeah, let's install that.
Is really good. So when you're writing in PowerShell, if you have an error, you can hover over it and it'll give you a breakdown of it. Error lens takes that error and puts it on the same line and makes it easy to read. You don't have to go looking for it. Error lens really is, I probably should have that one.
Yeah, well, I thought I needed it.
And now I do.
Yeah, now you do. So I did that one. And then I did GitHub Copilot, just because I watched some videos that said I needed it. Again, I didn't know if I needed it, but they said I did, so I did it. This one, okay. And then right here it says how many people have downloaded it. So
Copilot is GitHub's version of AI, and it helps with completion of code. So that one is, I'm not surprised that one's popular.
Okay, well, and I just thought I need AI because, again, I don't know what I'm doing. So I started with these guys. And then the videos that I watched and Brock's blog said that this is my friend. Command palette is what makes everything happen, that I need to come here. So then, oh, wait, no, I forgot my favorite. Wait, I forgot. My most important.
This is everybody's favorite.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows this one.
Okay, because this was the only thing. This was my bread and butter. This is my little pets.
VS Code Pets. The first time I did anything on VS Code, Pets was the main thing I highlighted.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not just me.
No, I think I used the clip art on a skateboard, but you did not want to do that one.
No, I don't like Clippy. I don't know. Don't yell at me. Don't lynch me. Clippy looks like high school to me.
He's got skateboard and backwards hat.
All right. Okay, so now once you do all the extensions, then you have to come in and you have to go to this command palette and make things happen. So you have to come down and do pet coding and then start pet coding. And then look at my little pet. They're over here, but I hate that they're in a little pen. I don't like it. But so then let's come back up here and go to command palette. And then guess what? I can make more pets, Jordan. Let's get a fox.
They have added
we want a white
new
fox.
pets since I last was in here.
Have they? Yeah. We can name our pet. Let's name our fox Jordan.
That tracks.
Look, there he is. Oh my gosh.
That tracks.
I know. Okay, but watch this. This is the best part. I know this is the dumbest thing ever, but I don't care. We're going to make it throw a ball. Look, they can throw balls. Look, our pets have a ball. Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right, so VS Code Pets aside, which is delightful.
It is delightful.
What I'm seeing here is VS Code, when you take kind of a blank slate and you can add different extensions that make it for whatever process you're working in.
Yes.
Make life easier for you.
Yeah, but so what I did, this made me feel like comfortable in the environment. I just wanted to feel some measure of success because I didn't know what I was doing. And I found that I could make pets. So I did what I could do. Anyway, so then I actually really started doing stuff. So I found that I came over here and you can open a folder, which you can tell it where I'm going to have my workspace, right? Or you can open a file. So I can't remember. Oh, we had one open actually. So you're just telling it where you're going to work. So then I actually thought I should maybe try doing some coding. Actually, no, I'm going to take you back because this is where I went awry. Where I went awry is kind of what I usually will do is I jump in the deep end of the pool, as you said, and I did open user preferences. And man, this is a big world. Look at all this stuff you can customize. And then I kind of created a monster because I started looking at all this stuff and then I got like uber overwhelmed and I just kind of got lost because it's not only PowerShell, it's like all different kinds of languages. So if I come over here, if you look down here, this is in PowerShell, but you could do HTML, you can do C, you can do everything. And then I kind of like started crying in my office and screaming a lot. And I was like,
So, but you did something very common for people new to VS Code, which I think is a good lesson to learn, is after you got to where it was functional, then you tried to dive even deeper. When you did. So I think the best bet is build something that functions for what you want. And then as you're going, something's like, hey, I could use this, so this would be nice. Then you research it and you add that specific thing. But if you dive right in out of the gate, there's too many options. You'll get lost. So just build your defaults, get your extension. PowerShell, obviously, that's the best. The error lens, which I don't have but I should have, is fantastic because it's just nice to see the errors. I think we'll see that in action for Andrews. And then if you are working in a Git or some kind of repo, having the kind of an extension that allows you to connect to that is also very valuable. And after that, leave it as that and use it for a while, and then customize slowly as you go. Although you went straight to Synth 84, I believe, for your theme.
Oh, it was pretty, Jordan. Okay. Oh. It was pretty. It was 80s themed. But so then I got in here and I actually made a file, a script, and I was like, hey, these mean nothing to me because I don't even know what they do. And that's literally where I was at. So even if I had all the extensions, I don't even know what an array is. So for me, this really wasn't step one, or shouldn't have been step one. Step one should have been, what the crap are all these things and what do they mean? For someone that's never coded before, it really wasn't a great step one for me. That was when I started screaming from my office.
So, David, you're in a unique spot because the fastest way to learn is you find some sort of process that you do regularly, because if there's consistency, you can make it go away. We don't do a lot on that side anymore. We do a lot of theoretical stuff. So it's more difficult to dive in where you can't come up with I need to make this go away. But it's more of I would like to learn PowerShell. Yeah,
I mean, my experience with PowerShell is making remote mailboxes in 365, literally.
Yeah, PowerShell is almost mandatory for Exchange anymore.
Yeah, but so what I figured out is that if you hit F8, it runs the line that you're on, so I can see the processes on this computer. So I did do that. I was able to do that little bit. And then you showed me this get help about _ brings up all this stuff, which is cool. But then I also was like, get help. Okay, what am I getting help about? I don't even really know what these mean. Yes. So I was kind of stuck there.
Yeah, the most common used is get help and then whatever command, like if you put get help, then get process, it's going to give you all the help documentation for get process.
Yeah.
But I showed you get help about because in your case, you dove right into the deep end and you were trying to go into some concepts. So if you go to the end of the line there and then hit control space, so about _ is concepts in PowerShell. So whether it's variables or arrays that you mentioned, calculated properties, about _ you find it in there. It's like the help with the command, but it's letting you know about core coding processes.
Yeah, and so I think this would probably be a better place for me to start because where I was like, I don't even know what a variable is. Hey, this would probably be better for me to start with rather than try.
Yeah, so in this case where one of the things you said, what was a variable?
Right.
That's where you can come in and just run that for variables, and it's going to go in and you see environment preference variable. There's a whole bunch of information in there. Everything you want to know about variables shows up in a help document.
Yeah.
If you don't want it just in that small console, there's a path you can do, which is show window, which will make it pop out in its own window, so you can have your help document open, and you have a little bit more control, and you have a find in there. So
yeah,
that's a quick way to learn for something. If you're going into, like, say you're looking for some service you want to stop, and you look at the get service command, you look at that, but you look online, you say captured in a variable, not sure what that was. That's where you do the about _ You could read up about what variables are, so you understand a bit more about what you're building your code around.
So I did this on day 3, and so I kind of wish I had started this on day 1, honestly, to get help and learn more about it, because it would have been easier to contextualize inside of VS Code. So I really love VS Code. I love playing around in it, and if I had a more advanced developer skill set, I think I would have been much better inside of the product. But not knowing what I was doing, I got overwhelmed quickly.
Yeah, you also dove right in the deep end because you did run a get help, and then you wondered why there were brackets around certain listed parameters.
Yeah.
Which is something that is in the PowerShell and a month of lunches, but it's a high level concept when you weren't quite ready for it. So you dove straight into the deep end. Which
of course I did.
Does not surprise me.
That's what I do. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else in there that you, from your learning experience from diving in? Or?
Yeah, you can't become a coder in 3 days, Jordan.
No.
As it turns out.
No, but luckily you were able to build up an environment that functioned for it. So while your coding's not there, you have a pretty solid environment at this point to help you. You have your scripting language that you're learning. You have something to help you track the errors. You have Copilot to get a little bit of AI help.
Don't forget my pets.
And you have VS Code pets, obviously.
Okay.
To help soothe you when you're frustrated.
They're my support animals.
Yeah. So you built a nice baseline to get started. So VS Code, massive behemoth to start, but following Brock's blog and some tinkering on, you built a functioning environment to give you the best chance to learn it, which I think that's the value right there.
Yeah, and just full disclosure, I did not want you guys to help me, right? We did this on purpose. I wanted to be on the struggle bus to kind of show, let's start by myself and see where we go.
So someone in the chat wants you to show ISE mode. This is your chance. You were excited about this.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's just rude. Making me do it live. Okay. I think I just type ISE and then I can find enable, disable. So now I can't remember if I have it disabled. No, I have it enabled. Maybe.
No, if it was enabled, the color palette would have changed.
Oh, that's right. Everything is in command palette. Everything. But I've not ever done that on here. So if you come in here and just tell it what you want, it'll kind of tell you so you can find your way around. So then this goes back to what Jordan likes, although he had the dark mode here. So this is where I should have started. I should have started if I just wanted to learn PowerShell. I shouldn't have done all the customization. I should have just started here for PowerShell.
But there's other things in there that were useful.
Yeah. It got me comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's watch Andrew show us how it really works.
I'm okay to skip over me. I've got nothing to add.
Oh no, sorry. I'm sorry, Jordan. No, you know everything. Sorry.
No, I really don't. I'm going to disable ISE mode. So on mine, I wasn't joking when I leave the defaults. I installed PowerShell and everything else is modules. So I was trying to think what I could do to help with VS Code. And so I went to, there's a module called PowerShell AI.
Oh, yeah.
which connects your PowerShell with ChatGPT. So if you have an account with ChatGPT, you just need to come to the account settings API keys, capture that into an environment variable in your system.
Okay.
There's documentation within the Git for that one to do that one. And then this is where I went to find something useful. And by the end of testing this, I have never had a lower opinion of ChatGPT.
Oh, no.
I spent 3 days trying to find a useful example of how it could be helpful. And I found a whole bunch of answers that were 80% correct. I even started going to, it's like, well, we just were talking about the advanced settings in VS Code. I could ask, so I could go GPT, as you can see with my frustration, why do you suck is the question that I answered, which it replies with, I don't, by the way. Set default, terminal in VS Code. We'll see if it actually gives me a good answer here. So the nice thing about using it this way is, I don't know if anyone's been going to ChatGPT online, but you get a whole bunch of we're overloaded.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Using an API, the API key like this, you don't get that.
Oh,
you can query, you're not going to run into that, so just run. So file settings, preferences settings, and search by type terminal.integrated shell. Let's find out. If it works now, after this week, I will lose
It's going to, because we're live.
All right, we're going to follow this thing. So file preferences, settings. All right. Search terminal dot integrated. Oh my goodness.
It works right now. It heard you. It heard you.
That failed for me like 2 hours ago. That exact query failed 2 hours ago for me.
That's how quickly they're updating it, Jordan. That's Chat GPT-4.
Right. So, but it is a nice kind of helpful thing. But the big thing for me is they named this one Copilot. It's after the GitHub Copilot. And this was built by Doug Fink.
Yeah.
It's a community-run one, but he was the main driving force. You could just do where you ask it a question. So get AD user Quintana. Select SAM account name.
So you're referring back to your AD user on this computer. Okay.
Select SAM account name and calculated property for human readable last logon time.
Something you can't normally get, right?
Yeah, so last logon time in Active Directory returns a string that means a lot to a computer, nothing to us. Okay. And that is one that I never remember how to do the conversion. So we're going to ask Copilot to do that for us real quick and see if it comes back. And that's the thing about Copilot, it comes up with the answer here. So get AD user filter, the properties, both of those, and then select, and then that's the calculated property I asked for where it does do the conversion to date time. So I asked Copilot, how do I do this? Because in particular, the converting that time format, I never remember that. I always have to look that up. So having that handy, and it was I asked it a question in English, and it came back with the appropriate PowerShell command.
So a time saver.
Did you have to pay for this, or is this free, or how'd that go?
This one is free. There's now GPT-4, which does require a paid one. This one's GPT-3. I'm not going to run that because
install the module.
Yeah, I don't think I have the Active Directory module installed on this one, so I didn't run it. But it gave me the functional command. You can just hit Y, and it'll actually run the command for you. So that is useful, where I can ask it an English question and get back PowerShell. Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the last one.
I think that what that command really highlights is how important it is to not just run the code.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. That's what we're here. Run the code. You got to check it first. What you're going to get from any AI service is not going to be 100% all the time. You're not just going to want to run this in production.
And now we're going to make some pictures.
Yep. So I used the last command, get DALI image, ask for a breakdancing hippo.
Oh my gosh.
AI generated image. So there we
Just
go.
like that.
That's the real value.
That hippo looks in pain. Look at that thing.
This is what we've come to with artificial intelligence.
So although it's my fun, because like I said, I don't do a lot of customization.
Sure.
We're going to go to Andrew now, who does a lot. This is where, if you want to know higher end stuff, this is where you need to focus up.
Okay. So he's all about the customization.
I like a thing or two about customization, but like Tara highlighted initially, you could go forever. So it's about finding the balance of really cool stuff with what you want to do. So let me share screen here. Hopefully this works really well since we're nice and live.
It worked well
All right.
yesterday when we weren't, but we'll
did.
We'll see if it'll work today.
Let me just try and find the thing. All right. Are we all here?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So the first thing I'm going to highlight is something simple. If you're sharing your screen, we can toggle screencast mode. You see at the bottom, you can see what I'm typing. Yay. Just a cool little thing. If you're ever sharing screen working with someone else, that is a great way to get everyone on the same page. One thing that I'd like to highlight here is
password.
If you type password in, yes.
If you type your password, it'll.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, sorry, I thought you were saying that I had like my password listed somewhere. I was like, oh gosh, how?
No,
If anything,
Yeah, so if you come up where it asks for a credential box, even if it is capturing it, that way you're going to want to turn off that mode before you type in.
If you're demonstrating it to 200 people, yeah.
Yeah, looks like it. Good question. All right, so we have up here, we have some errors showing inline, and this was mentioned earlier, but this is the error lens extension, which is quite helpful to see exactly what's going on, get some suggestions on your code. It looks like right here, I declared a variable but never used it, which is a little inefficient, and it's nice that I can see this without having to like dive deep in my code, and I see a little light bulb here. Just show code actions, and there's a way to fix this. Oh, wait. There actually isn't for this one. There's a method to read more about it. For this one, GPS Chrome. So GPS is an alias
Real
of
quick,
get
Andrew,
process.
they're asking if you can zoom in a bit.
Yeah, I got you. Enough? Too much?
I think you're good.
Seems good to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so we have another issue here. And if we click on it, we have this little quick fix. We can replace it automatically. And this can save you a bunch of time when you're coding. Now, as we can see here, let me get this to the side. Awesome. I have moved my cursors to the right, and I'll show you why. You see, I can expand it and close it, and it doesn't move all my text over here. If I wouldn't have it like that, if I move it to the left, look at that. It jumps all my text way over the screen in a very inconvenient way. As you keep using it, you will probably want to move this to the right. Awesome. So a command that I'd like to show you is, something we frequently do in PowerShell is query a bunch of data. So let's just run get process Chrome. And you see there's a bunch of data there, right? We run commands all the time. It generally returns a lot of data. Well, we have this command new editor file, which will actually, if we run it, it will take all of that output and put it into a new file. And you see right off the bat, it looks like there's squigglies everywhere. Things are wild. Well, that's because down here, the length's in PowerShell for this. So I will switch this to text. Okay, a little bit better. And this is the output. And with this, you can do other things. If you're querying AD, it can be useful. Some small little window right down here isn't that great. And I'll sort of tie it in with something that I'll show you in a second here. So what I'd like to highlight next is what Tara mentioned earlier, which is the command palette, which Control-Shift-P. I prefer pressing F1 and type in anything you have a question about, any setting. I know everything about VS Code, so I regularly just come here and type in what I'm trying to change.
Real quick, you said you hit F1, but you manually set that as a hotkey. That's not a default, right?
I don't think I did. But I might have. I think that F1 is not for command palette. It's to show all commands. You see that? Show all commands F1, but you can also type into it. So it's an alternate method of getting there. Yeah. Somebody in chat's calling F1. Yeah, it's a nice little trick. Because, make it shorter for yourself. We piped that. We created a new editor file. Let's say you have a file and you want to open it up in VS Code. One way you could do that is by using open editor file. Oops, probably should have picked a different file. But yeah, you can just run open editor file and it will up whatever file you have in the editor. I mentioned this earlier, but I'll highlight it again, the ISE mode. I recommend if you're switching over from ISE, this is your first time, enable it to begin with. You'll see more things that look a little bit familiar. It will keep you on the right track at least in the beginning, and you'll maybe miss some of the pitfalls that we saw Tara went through with having a new experience, which is what I went through. And honestly, whenever I get distracted or want to be distracted, I'll install new themes and get lost in it as well. But let's just go ahead and hit that. All right, a lot of things. There's the PowerShell Command Explorer on the right-hand side, which you're probably familiar with. A lot of other changes. I'll be honest, I can't stay like this. I'm too used to my customization. I can't do it. All right. One cool thing that I think is so powerful, and every single IT team should have at least one person on their team who is empowered and knows how to use multiple cursors. Okay. So as you can see right here, I just have a CSV, just some data. It could be anything, but I'm going to press Control Alt and then the down arrow key. And you'll see as I do that, there are more and more cursors. Now I have this huge giant cursor. I'm very powerful. I could press delete and fix that errant tab in the beginning, or I could tab everything multiple times, or whatever you really want to do. In this example, I'll press the end button to go to the very end of the line on every single cursor, and I will add a new field. Say what kind of person they are. Dog lover. I've seen people mention, like DBAs mention that they do this with SQL queries. They have a list of items and they'll generate a bunch of SQL queries at once, all kinds of stuff. But definitely I recommend dabbling in the multiple cursors. It can save your butt in ways you might not be expecting. Save a lot of time. In a similar vein, we also have find and replace, right? Control F, you know about finding things. That's great. Right, let's find obviously a lot of lover there. If we wanted to totally flip the world on its head, we could switch this to dog hater. And there's two options here. There's replace and then there's replace all. If I'm working with important data, I like to go one at a time. If it's a massive set, you can just do that. I highly recommend, we're talking about a text edit steroids, right? That's what I said earlier. These are not PowerShell specific things that will stick with you. They'll help you in your PowerShell. They'll help you with CSVs. They'll help you with random formatted data. But I got to change this back.
Yeah, we love dogs. Don't be a hater. Yeah, we love dogs.
Now I'm curious. Can you pull up your list of extensions? I want to see how many extensions you have.
You need to see that?
He put a heart. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Also, big call out. Learn the hotkeys for VS Code. It will save you so much time as you continue to use and refine your use of this tool set. Now, Night Owl, that's my current theme that I just got per the recommendation of someone on Twitter. But yeah, I have a lot here, man.
He has Azure.
Azure Functions. So you have Docker. So in this case, where you're not just limited to PowerShell, you have a lot of stuff for Git, it looks like.
Yeah, I am not a super master at Git, so I like using any kind of tool that helps my workflow, and I really enjoy the GitHub ones.
So the Excel one I just saw, because this is reminiscent of a find and replace in Excel, something I would normally do in Excel. That's what it reminds me of.
So Excel Viewer is, if you don't have Microsoft Word or you don't like using all those, you can, with that extension, you can open up Excel documents within VS Code without needing a new.
That's cool.
Yep. And there are some awesome extensions here, as we can see. I'll highlight a couple real quick that people have really expressed a lot of value with, which is Live Share Extension Pack. If you want to teach people PowerShell, if you're learning PowerShell with someone else, sharing the same VS Code instance and even a terminal, if you give permissions for that, to be able to work on files is incredible for collaboration, teaching, all that kind of great stuff that as people who are either getting started or already established in PowerShell, these are things we need to be thinking about a little bit. I'll give one more, and this is to the homie Jordan.
This is for Jordan.
This is it. Explain regex in VS Code.
I bet he's going to do it.
You think I'm going to go add an extension?
No, you're not going to. Andrew, I actually have a question, though.
Yeah.
Because I learned this as I was fumbling around in my office the past 3 days. I learned that you can drag a text file into your work pane, so you could do a script. So with what you're doing with the multiple cursors, could you, in fact, import a large amount of data and then manipulate that data?
You definitely could, and I've done that a bunch of times.
That would be really cool and useful.
Oh, completely it is.
Okay.
All right. Well, now mostly I just want to throw Kelly off his game. Someone asked a question about can you show setting up Git with VS Code, and I just want to ask that before Kelly shows the question to throw off his slides.
I hate
Set
you.
up Git. So you want me to? What do you want me to show, Jordan?
They're saying, can you
Integrate it,
showcase
yeah.
using Git with or
That's a
GitHub
good
with?
question. You making me do this live, huh?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
The question is, how can you configure it to work with Bitbucket or Git or any cloud repo? Is that the one you're thinking of, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the second one that came through. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So
Yeah.
you could just use Git, right? Like Git clone, all the Git commands, or you could use one that I use is the GitHub extension, which is really awesome. It will show you if there's any things going on, any issues, which it doesn't look like there are for this current repo that I have open. I'll switch to the PowerShell scanners and see if there's anything there. Oh, I have it in. Sorry, asked me to do this
We
live.
better have an issue for the Windows 11 scanner. That thing's broken.
There we go. Yeah, sorry about this, y'all. You asked me to do it live, and
So
it's,
just to clarify, this is a shared workspace.
So
that
this
you
is
guys are
GitHub.
looking
So
at.
he's
Okay,
actually connected
yeah.
to our GitHub for the PowerShell scanner.
yeah, and there's some stuff over here. If there were to be some pull requests, I could check it out here, similar to like Git checkout kind of deal. I think we have another webcast that really goes into creating a PR using some of these extensions that I think would be a bit of a better explanation.
But mostly, if you whatever one you're using, whether it's Bitbucket, it's going to have an extension in VS Code. As long as the extension is there, you're just going to have to authenticate into whatever it is you're using, and then you can open up your workspace without issue.
And the changes that you make here are going to be reflected in GitHub. Is that the idea?
Well, with GitHub, you can pull in the data, you can make some changes, you can make a branch, and you could do a merge request or a pull request.
Okay.
Where you get permission to, but you're not going to be able to, unless your settings are defeating the purpose of Git. You're not just going to be able to make a save and change the results there. You can make a pull request saying, I fixed this issue, and then someone else goes through and approves it.
Okay, makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, it's a bit involved, but it's great stuff to use. And you don't have to use extensions to manage Git or any of those Git-based repositories. You could just use command line, but there are often extensions that will be helpful for you.
That's awesome, Andrew.
You guys ready for some questions?
Let's do it.
All right. We got 3 of them lined up for you. Hey, folks, is there a snippet area where you can add pre-made code? Sincerely, the health department.
Well, I mean, clearly I should answer this.
I don't have an answer, so you should.
You can drag it right in, actually. It lets you drag it in.
But that's pulling over the entire code. I don't know about snippets in particular. I don't know if there's anything specific for that I can think of.
So if you press F1 and type in snippet, you'll see some stuff comes up. There's configure snippets, insert snippet, fill file with snippet. Those are what I see. So there are some options for there. And I was actually looking at extension packs. And if you type
Insert
in
right
snippet,
there.
yeah, if you type in snippet for the extension packs, I believe that there might be something for PowerShell.
Let's find out.
PowerShell snippets.
Pet snippets.
Let's do a pet snippet.
So there's quite a few extensions. So
Yeah.
it's one of those, there are some default ones built into VS Code, and then it looks like they have various add-ons
Yeah.
that you'd have to try out to find out what works best for you.
So you install the snippet and then the functionality will be there.
Yep. All right.
Next question.
Let's do it.
We have a follow-up from the health department. What are the coolest things you have seen with PowerShell for PDQ deploy?
I mean, I'm not unbiased on this one, but I wrote automation for packages not in the package library. So it was our own custom web scraper. It would update the variable. So it functioned almost exactly like the automated packages we have, but it was for stuff that wasn't there. And I was pretty proud of that one. So I don't know. I'm not unbiased on that one, but I thought that was pretty cool.
One way that I've kind of used some cool PowerShell stuff is deploying, like using PDQ deploy to orchestrate my automation. I had a server that I had that I would run PDQ packages on, that I ran like certain automation for my organization, whether that's processes to kind of keep things going. And I would target it from PDQ deploy. And because it ran as a certain user, I configured credentials under that user on the computer, on the target computer. And it's just a pretty cool way to rely on PDQ deploy for a bunch of our automation and just have a centralized place to look at the results, look at the schedules, configure the outputs and the retries and all kinds of stuff like that. But you can do anything, so.
All right, 2 more in the queue. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. What have you found is the best way to open multiple VS Code windows in the same workspace? Thank you, David R.
I was actually going to ask you that today.
Wide.
I don't know that I've ever done it, so I'm excited to learn along with David.
Andrew, do you know the answer?
To be honest, my answer would be just drag it super wide, right? Like you can have it span across multiple monitors and then split in the editor, like drag it to the side. Haven't used it on multiple instances, which I think a lot of Electron apps struggle with. Good question, though. There might be a better answer out there.
All right, we'll do our homework.
Used it on a smaller screen. I recommend the way that you've done it, Andrew. Have multiple monitors. Otherwise, you're going to be doing a lot of right mouse clicking on the taskbar, trying to open that separate window.
Yep.
Okay, are you guys ready for the final question of the day, or are you still digging on the last one?
Well, can I ask a follow-up question to that? Because I was going to ask you this question before, because can you have 2 different versions of VS Code running? Could you download 2 different versions? Because I was going to ask you this because I wanted to add all my customizations and then have your version open with no customizations. Can you do that or no?
Not
I think so.
I mean, it's I've never tried it. I'm not sure because they do have a 32 and a 64-bit version, right?
Are there some flags that you can set to not load any extensions?
I think there is, like a debug mode type deal and stuff like that. I think there are some options. And I know you can have multiple instances.
If you can run those at the same time.
Yeah. You can't even just default different instances. And you can make changes and maybe just don't save to your user settings. Save it to just the workspace settings for the particular workspace you're working on. Anyway, it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, Marcel says you can run one instance as a different user.
What if you wanted to have 2 different JSON files and open one in different?
That's where the different user, because JSON file is user specific.
Okay.
So that's actually, Marcel with a that should shock nobody. Marcel with a fantastic answer.
Marcel with a win.
Yeah, so you run VS Code as just run as a different user,
and then
put in
you
those
have
credentials, and then if it's a new user who's never opened it before, it will be a blank slate.
Okay, cool.
All right, final question. Easy way to add automated code signing in VS Code? Craig?
I mean, my experience, code signing is never easy no matter what. But go ahead.
My mind goes to you'd have to use something like invoke build or like socket to have some form of build process that happens to your script that maybe checks it and then signs it and does other things with it. I don't know of like a one-click, just make it happen instantly with VS Code. It may exist, but if you have that kind of stuff going on, maybe you're already using invoke build or socket or some form of CI/CD build process kind of deal.
A whole nother webcast.
Yep.
That actually would be a great webcast. Signing scripts is something I think is underutilized. Thanks. You've created extra work for us. I'm looking forward to it.
We're gonna do shows every week anyway. So.
Yep.
Well, I think this is a good gateway to, are there people who want to learn PowerShell that are beginners, and what's the best path for them to take?
And with VS Code, I don't think there is a correct answer. Everyone wants different things. As much as Andrew hates my defaults, that's who I am at my core. You dove,
if you're using it.
Yeah, you dove straight in, and you did things that I think neither Andrew and I had considered right out the gate, where you're trying new things. So the best thing about VS Code, I would say, the biggest takeaway is go simple to start until you have tested the environment, and then you can look to expand. But going too complex too early will be overwhelming for just about anybody, I think.
But what would you tell our viewers who maybe, because I'm just going to say from experience, it can be a little intimidating to talk to the two of you who are so high level if you don't know PowerShell. What would you say to them? What's the best way for them to learn from the two of you and not be terrified?
There's no reason to be terrified. The great thing about PowerShell community is everyone Not everyone. Most people are just happy to help for the opportunity. So I don't think Andrew and I have ever been hostile for teaching, along with anyone else. I mean, we talk to PowerShell MVPs just about every week, and they've all been just as friendly. So I think that's the wrong mindset if you learn PowerShell. Just if you ask your question in a way where you're not looking to be handed a code or an answer, but how do I do something, you're going to get positive feedback from any channel, whether it's the Discord or PowerShell.org or the Slack channel. As long as you go in there asking your question as I want to learn how to do something, your answers are going to be fantastic and well thought out.
How about you, Andrew?
He has some great stuff. Get started. Take your first steps. Ask for help when you need it. We love teaching new people. Listen to the PowerShell podcast. There you go.
I like that one. I do want to there's a last minute question about protecting credentials. If you're doing PowerShell, there is the secrets module that will help you keep all of your credentials secure, but can be used across the board. I would recommend doing that for PowerShell. Outside of that, there's probably just going to be best practices for whichever one you're using. All right, but thanks everyone for tuning in. Hopefully this helps you more comfortable to move out of ISC to VS Code. ISC is great, but it is no longer actively being worked on outside of patching security holes. The future is VS Code or something similar, so the sooner you dive in, the better off you'll be. For PDQ, I'm Jordan.
I'm Tara.
That's Andrew over there on the TV. Thanks for joining our webcast today. If you like what you've seen, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have additional questions, please leave us comments. We love comments. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here next week.